Morning folks, how's it going? Sorry about the croaky voice, I'm just a man flu. It's not man flu, just got a bit of a cold. We're up here today, myself and Simon. Simon's just cleaning off an area prior to us making a dig hole. If we're making a dig hole, that means that we're actually moving some dirt today. The first thing that we wanted to get at was to get into this first log layup on what's been given the loose name of the log raft. That those names will change, but it's an idea of getting in and forming some of the transition here. It's a bit of a, doesn't sound like a particularly important venture to lay some dirt on something, but it is quite important to get a look and get a feel of how the transitions are going to be on this track. It's quite important that they're mellow. We're not trying to send people to the moon and straight up, but we are trying to give you a bit of a helping hand to get up and over. So if you're familiar with the transition on GAP, on the gap jump over there, that's the sort of thing that we're aiming for. So get some of this brash out of the way, get a dig hole formed, and we can start to lay some dirt up. Right folks, so first layer on. This doesn't actually give you an idea of the transition. What it does is just give myself and Simon an idea of where we're going at next into the belly of it. But it's time for a bit of a shape. Not necessarily a pack down yet, a little bit early for that, but a bit of a shape with the shovels before we start adding more dirt to it. So we're losing a little bit of light right now, but we've got a shape of a transition in that frankly we're kind of happy enough with now to let some of this rain soak onto it, and we'll come back with some fresh out of the dig holes in here and we'll cover it up at a later date. If I move over to the side without letting the rain get on the lens, if I move over to the side here, again with GoPro unfortunately it doesn't really show it, but there is a natural sort of bomb hole in here that once we've had a good old dig at it and shaped everything back up onto the landing here, you should be able to see that there's it's almost a step down with a flat tabletop section to it. As you kick up and over, the arc should come up nicely and drop you down in there. I mean, it is approximately 16-17 feet, which sounds relatively big, but it's not that bad. We have a feature over on Gasoline Alley that goes directly into a berm, and a lot of people are shooting around the 17 to 20 mark on that anyway. This one is going to have a bit more of a transition kick on it to get you up and over. Ultimately it should be a trickable jump as well, but as far as a wet, cold, rainy day in January goes, that's not a bad effort at all. I don't know if this gives you a look at do you know what, I actually do know it doesn't on GoPro, but to show you how this runs in, got this feature here, then we hit into a bit of an S-berm corner, and then we come into what we're going to build in as what we've kind of currently called the kinker. But this one gets sort of hipped, and it's going to be two large sort of camel hump whoops. If I show you from the side here, oh, it's quite very difficult to get you all these angles, but I don't know if you can see it. This rolls over. It's also going to roll back up the other side again. That old stump thing obviously gets removed, so it will be possible to kind of roll over these two. But the idea obviously is, if you want to hit it at full speed, the idea is once we've shaped all of this in for a transition as well, is to pop up and over it and away down, and hopefully you've held all your speed from up in here, up in this one. Now I keep referring to, like I referred to that as the kinker and referred to that as the log raft, but we have had some suggestions of new names from the guys over at Fast House, and to be honest with you, I'm quite liking the suggestions that they've come up with. So when I say the kinker and the log raft, they're just kind of working titles, so to speak, but it's chucking down. It's coming in wet now, which is no terrible thing for the for the dirt that we've laid up on this transition. It's nice to kind of get that wet and let that soak in. In a perfect scenario, we would have been able to dig some of this one in as well and get some of this shaped, but frankly it's wet and we're ill, so you can only do what you can. But yeah, so ultimately where we are with this is pretty happy. The intention is to make all of the transitions on all of the features on these to get them to a point where they're not so aggressive but they are enough to pump you up, just so that you, in case you're thinking about, in case you're looking at this and thinking, dude, I don't want to launch myself 17 feet, no worries, we just haven't done this part yet. But through a line through there, which will then ultimately kind of follow this drop trunk, that brash pile will get moved out the way. There will be an alternate line to come around this feature, should you so wish. You're not going to be forced to hit that, and if you were hitting that and you know you were thinking about having to do that and it made you feel like you wanted to tap the brakes, tapping the brakes and going at it gingerly is actually going to be slower than just taking this alternate route, so you know you're not going to be penalised on time too heavily. As I say, that is we've said this before and we keep saying it, it is the idea with this track is to make it accessible to everyone. However, if you really want to push it, then you will be rewarded for that extra effort, because the quickest way down here is to launch this, pump off this backside here and get yourself fired straight into the kinker and double over that one as well. That's ultimately the fastest way of doing it. So anyway, you sick of being wet yet, Si?
Sorry?
You sick of being wet yet?
I want to go home.
Yeah. It's wet and it's going to be dark soon, so we're going to call it a day. Catch you shortly, folks.